Hi, good morning. It is a new day, and it's a new day of doing art with Miss Anna. I'm Anna Walker, also known as FELTit, and I've been creating for about as long as I can remember. When I was a little kid, I was creating with my mom, and as I grew up, I continued to create. And now I mostly create with felt and fiber, and I make things with needle felting and wet felting. But since I knew that you guys, like me, were pretty much staying home for the next while, I thought that it would be a really good idea for us to get together on the internet and have a create date, an internet play date, as it will. So I decided that we're going to create something every day, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. And today's creation is going to be decorating a can. Hello, Omaha. I can see you this morning because my hands aren't paying attention down low. So I've added a little embellishment that I'll talk about at the end, but for right now we're going to work on creating a decorative can that we can use as a flower vase, or we can use as a pencil holder, or to hold our change and save up to buy something fun. But that's what we're going to do. So let's get started with it, okay? I'm going to turn the camera down, and we're gonna turn the extra light on so you can see really well. And what we're gonna need, we need an empty, clean can. Hopefully you've got one of those that mom or dad or grandma or somebody got ready for you. It's just a clean can. We're going to need some threads or yarns, and I've got some pieces cut from this string and from this paper rope and from this yarn that's been dyed really cool colors, and from this sparkly yarn here too. So we've got our can, we've got our yarn and strands already cut. All I did was I took each of the strands that I wanted to use and I cut off some short lengths of them. Okay, so I just, instead of working with this or working with this or working with this, can be kind of fiddly to try and get all those things together. So I cut shorter pieces. They're about a yard long, but you don't need to measure this. We're just taking some pieces and we're cutting them to make it easier for us. We're gonna use glue. I'm using a tacky glue that's a little thicker. Most of you are probably using Elmer's glue, and that's just fine. Any kind of glue is gonna work. I just want you to be very careful with using the glue so that you don't make a big mess, okay? So we're gonna need glue, and if you got a toothpick handy or a pencil or a popsicle stick, sometimes you need to press the fibers down, the yarns down, and you can do it with your hands, but they'll get a little sticky, and that might stick to the other fibers while you're working on things. So having a little piece of paper that you can set the toothpick on, and a toothpick or a popsicle stick, plastic fork, or even a pencil, you know, that you're using, and have a piece of paper that you can lay it on when you're not needing it, using it, is a good idea. So I've got that just right over here. It's just off camera, but know that it's there. So the first thing we're gonna do is find the place where we wanna start our yarns. And usually when you rip off the label of the can, it leaves a little bit of the paper left over. That's a really good place to start the glue. Now, we could cover this whole thing up and down with glue, but we're only gonna do a small amount at a time to make sure that we're not making a really huge mess, okay? So I'm gonna get my glue, and another thing that you might wanna think about, if you have, oh, let's see, I've got these little foam squares, but you could use a cup, or you could use your jar of toothpicks, or you could use, you know, anything that you've got handy just to sort of hold the can steady. That'll help out a little bit too, especially when we do the extra embellishment part. So I'm gonna start at the bottom. You could start at the top, it really doesn't matter, but we want to start at one of the ends, and I'm just dotting some glue on to have a starting out place, okay? And that's about all I'm gonna put on for now. We could put glue all the way around, but we don't really need to, because if we've got glue holding in one spot, that can be the spot where all the strands sort of hold together. I'm gonna start out with this heavier cord. This is the paper cord that I had, and I'm gonna overlap it right here, and I'm gonna make sure that it really gets into the glue, okay? And then I'm gonna hold it steady with my hand, and I'm gonna have to switch hands here, and I'm just going to wrap the cording around. Now, it doesn't have to be really close to start out. We're just wrapping it around to get it started connecting, okay? And you see how I'm sort of holding the strands at the back? Every once in a while, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna push this a little tighter so that we can get those strands nice and close to one another. And I'm still holding the beginning part. We're gonna add some more strands and a little bit more, and we're almost to the end of this first cord. Okay, so the first end of the cord is gonna be back behind. So we're gonna have to add a little bit of glue right there at that end. Now I am using my finger just to sort of smooth the glue out here. But right back here, where the cord ended, we're gonna need to add just a little dot of glue so that it'll hold that right into place, okay? See how tiny that is? It's really a small little bit of glue. We're just gonna hold it in place and make sure that we've got our cords all pushed down nicely. And once we're making sure, see the front one is holding in place really well. You might need to hold this for just a second, or even better, we let it rest on that for a second, and we're gonna add some more glue for our next round, okay? So remember, the paper area is another good reason for using the paper area of the can. Any of the leftover paper lets you know where you began everything. So I'm just gonna add some more glue here. And we're just dotting it on. It's, I guess, about the size, I don't know, about the size of a quarter or so, only it's squared out, okay? And so now I'm ready to add a second color. And I wanna go green and then another green. So I'm gonna use this sparkly green next. And again, we're starting it out just right here next to where we just did this color. And we're gonna wrap it around. We're gonna try and be a little close, but again, it's not necessary for us to be super, super duper close. We can use our fingers to move the cording down just a little bit. And we're getting all the way around. See, this is so much thinner than the other one. We were able to get all of this together in a very short space. So we're not gonna have to add as much glue this time. And you see how I'm just sort of pushing each of the rows down just a little bit, just to make it nice and tight. And I've got one that twisted up on me, and I'm not sure which strand it is that twisted, but we're not gonna worry about it because twisted strands happen. And it just adds to the detail and to the design, I think. So I added just a little extra glue to gather that edge there. We're gonna push it down. You can use your toothpick here. Absolutely use your toothpick if you don't like to get your hands messy. And we're just gonna hold it in place while it dries. And it's just a moment or two. Doesn't take long at all. We can use the toothpick to go over this and smooth it out. We can even, if we need a little bit extra glue down here at the end, we can even put a little extra on with our toothpick there from where we've already got glue on the can. Hope you guys can see this okay. Trying to stay right in your line of sight. There we go. And see how it just gathers it in? Now we have one thread that got a little wonky here, but I'm not going to worry too terribly much about the wonky thread because I don't think it's really going to matter. But hey, we got it tucked in. And now we're just making sure this is all nice and tight here. Just using that toothpick to help us push everything down. Make sure that our end is nice and tight. And we are ready to add just a tiny bit more glue and to go to our next strand. We want to have about, that quarters amount worth so that you've got plenty of area to wrap your strands around. And now because I've got green and then I've got another green, I'm going to go with this sort of cream colored fiber. And it's going to be kind of in between the two different sizes. So I like the texture difference that it's going to give to my design here, but I also like that the cream color will break up that large amount of green, and we'll have a nice neutral color coming next, because after we do this white, this cream color, I think we're going to go with that really wild multicolor yarn that I've got, because I love that color of yarn. And I have a good chunk of it. This is a nice way to use up extra bits of little yarns and strings that you've used for other projects, because you can have, a small amount or a large amount of any particular color, and because you're just wrapping each one individually, you can have any kind of a design you want. And it's kind of fun to see exactly what's going to happen with your design. Now, I just had something happen and I want to show you what happened. I want to show you how to fix it. Okay, my strand just gathered up into a tiny little bit of a knot here. And it's not really a knot. I know that doesn't make sense. But if you pop this out and then you look at it from here, it's just loops that got connected together. So if you look where the strand is going and where it got hung up, you can usually pull that out pretty easily. So I'm going to take advantage of this time, and I'm going to use my toothpick and I'm going to push down the cream colored fiber, because I want to make sure that we've got plenty of room for that fun colored fiber that I got coming up next. Oops, we got another funky line there. That's all right. We got it lined up. We're doing well. And we're going to continue wrapping. Let's find our glue. There's our glue. Now, we've run out of glue here, so I want to add a little bit more. You may find that you're going to have to add glue along the way too, and that's okay. Just add it a little bit at a time when you run out of glue. It's just an easy way, since we're not gluing the whole thing. It won't get super messy. So we can take our time and wrap things around until we run out of thread again. And I'm going to grab, there's my toothpick. Grab my toothpick. I'm going to pull up just a tiny little drop of glue. I'm going to put it right here where my cord ends, and I'm just going to press it right into being. Now the areas that don't have glue I can use with my finger. The areas that do have glue, I want to use the toothpick to move those strands down, because the cans have these little ridges in them, and they'll sometimes grab those strands and make them not want to get really close together. So it's just a matter of working with it as you're putting your new strands on. And I've got another one that twisted. Now let's see if we can untwist it here. The twisting is pretty easy to see, and it's pretty easy to figure out too, especially if you've got that toothpick. Did you see how easy that split it up? So we've got our third row of color done. I'm just smoothing out the glue where we've had the big glue at the beginning. I'm going to spread this out a little bit more because I used a drop of that to secure the cream color. And now we're going to have fun with this colored yarn that I have. Miss Anna is really big on colors. I love using different colors and I love using different textures. Now, we're going to do something with this really thin yarn that we haven't done with these other yarns. These other yarns are pretty large. You know, they've got a large diameter to them. So we've been very careful about lining them up, making sure that they're nice and even. With this yarn, because it's so thin and so narrow, I want to get a little wild and crazy. So we are just going to wrap it however we want to wrap it over that entire glue spot. And we're just going to let it fall where it does. And we don't care about overlapping the one before or keeping the line straight. We're just doing a very cool funky wrap all the way around, and I'm gonna leave it like that because that adds some attitude and that adds some creativity to it. Got just a little bit of glue from the end here so I can push that last end down there, and I really like how that gives us a little bit of texture. We're gonna play with that texture again down here, but next I'm gonna reverse the pattern. We're gonna do a little bit of white, and I'm probably not going to use the entire amount of white that I have cut because it's similar to this amount. I want these three. See how much space they took up on the height of this? And see, we've got about half that much left. So I'm going to probably use about half of the cream colored string and about half of the bright green string so that I can reverse the pattern, and then we're going to have some fun decorating with some more of this multicolor. Okay, so I've got some more of the cream color here, and I'm going to squeeze a little bit more glue on here. Remember, for the cream and the greens, we're trying to be nice and even with our rows, okay? And then we're being wild and crazy with our brightly colored yarn. So I'm going to start the cream just like I did the others. Put it right there in the glue. Then I'm going to carefully go around and I'm going to line it up nicely. And we're just going to go around, I don't know, a couple more times, I think. And then we'll cut it off. And this will give us a nice pattern without it being an exact pattern. Plus, we can cut the string right here where it's going to be in the glue. We can use our toothpick to push that down. And I'm going to use the toothpick to put a little bit more right down there at the end so that I can start this darker green right where I ended off with the cream color. See how I just matched that up there? And again, we're going to be very careful as we wrap this around so that we're lining it up. There we go. And again, we're using about half as much as we did below. And I'm going to stop it right here. So I'm going to trim this off. Grab my toothpick. And lay that edge down. Make sure I've got a little bit more glue there. And I'm going to add the rest of the glue that we're going to need to finish this out to the top. Now, I am not going to cover the seam at the top of the can. You can decide to do that if you want to. I like using this as a barrier because I can sort of push the edges of the strands of string that I'm using up against it without any trouble at all. So I'm not going to cover that. And where's my other light green string? Here we go. This one's a little fiddly because it was wrapped on that card. So I'm sort of stretching it out and making it as straight as I can to make it easier to wrap around the can. See, and just holding it between your hands, holding it tight and pulling it through. That helps to straighten it out just a little bit. See how that worked? It's a lot easier to work with now. So, again, gonna take the end, see where I ended at the last one, and I got a little glue on my finger. You can see it there. So just be careful. And then we're gonna wrap it around until we meet it, and then we're gonna wrap around again. Now this one, we're gonna probably need to push down a little bit just to make sure that we get it to stay underneath that edge. See how I just pushed that down so that I can get this in here? I'm gonna have to go through and push it down all the way around before I can get that last row finished up. Here we go. Now we've got that last row ready to go. I'm just pulling it a little snug, and then we're working all along the edge to make sure that it's pushed down so that we can get that wrapped all the way around and underneath that edge. And I'm going to end it right here. And I'm going to grab my toothpick and I'm going to smooth things out and make sure that I've got this edge glued down here. Now, if you wanted, we could leave it just like this, and that would be a pretty cool can. But I like this pop right here, and I like the idea of freeform and freestyle. I'm not, you know, an ordinary kind of stripes girl, and anyone that knows me and has taken a class with Miss Anna will say, I color outside the lines, and you know what? It's okay to color outside the lines. At least I think it is. So I have one more long strand of this multicolor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just stick my hand inside the can. The can is clean. If you're careful, you're not going to hurt yourself. If you're concerned about holding it like that, you can use a paper towel to hold your hand inside, okay, so that you're a little safe from the cut edges, and that'll work. But because this is going to be freeform, we're going to add glue in a couple of different areas, okay? So I want to make sure that I add glue from all of the areas where I want these multicolor strands to catch. And I'm going to put them in a couple of different places all over the can, and they'll be sort of my road signs for where I'm going to pull the strands next. You'll see what I mean here in a second. And let's go one more right in here and one more right here. Okay, so you can see that I've got the glue in globs in a lot of different spaces. And what I'm going to do is decide where I want to start, and I think I want to start right here. And so I'm going to put my end right here, and see, that way it even looks like it's coming out of where this was before. And I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to look around, and I'm going to go here and there and up and around again and around again and around again. And we're just looking for the areas that have the glue so that we can grab hold of those strands wherever the glue is to make our connections. And you see how that's giving us this really cool design? I don't know about you, but I'm kind of liking this design a little bit. And I'm getting it off camera, so I'm going to move it back here. I'm going to try and roll it around and go slow so that you can see that I'm choosing to go to different spots each time. to make a different design all the way around. And as long as you hit the glue in one spot, you can move to another spot and then move your hands around and move to another spot, move your hands around, and then another spot. We still have a lot of strands to go, so I'm just going to keep this up. I'm going to try and go slow so that you guys can see what I'm doing. And then we're going to come down here. And sometimes you'll make a big jump like this one, and so you'll use your toothpick just to hold that in place while you move on to the next spot. And sometimes the spots will hold all on their very own. And we're just doing a free-form wrap all the way around the can to give us a really cool, fun design. Here's another one where I'm sort of arching up, and I want to make sure that it sticks. And then we're going to come here, and I'm trying to find a new way to go each time so that we get a really cool design. And we're almost to the end, so I'm going to kind of finish it up, going a little bit more evenly kind of around the middle, just to make sure, and pull out the strand, just to make sure we're able to use this up and keep our design nice and tightly connected. And you see how I did there? I started here and then I went over here because there was a little more glue there. Let's just use up the glue that we've got and find a spot that can add a strand to it. And then just keep wrapping around until we get to the very end. And we're almost there. I love how the color is just giving us a really cool design. And you see how the strands have stuck underneath some of the previous strands from where we made the straight lines? I love that too. It just sort of anchors it in different places. Let's go there. I know, it seems to last forever, but we are really coming to the end here. I can see the end just hanging right off the table. Let's see, we'll go there, and then we'll go there, and then we'll go there, and then there, and here at the top, and we'll stay at the top and come around, hit the top again, hit the top again, and let's find out where we're going. Oh, this is perfect. Look how that ended. That ended right here where we've got a little glue where we can just anchor that end down. That's fabulous. Okay, so now we're just going to take our toothpick and we're going to smooth out those areas that have got some glue on them. Okay, if we have an area that needs a little extra and one area that's got a lot of extra, then we'll just move it from one place to the next. We're smoothing this out so we don't have any really obvious blobs of glue. Okay, and going all the way around, making sure we get everything nicely anchored. And voila, we did it. We have made a really cool, funky, decorated can. And I am just so freaking happy about this. I hope you have been having a good time with this. And keep pretending and practicing. Keep playing with this to see how, what kind of designs you can make. I'm going to set this down and I'm going to show you how I did the flower on this one. Okay, so this is still drying because I just did this embellishment this morning. But what I did was I took the glue and I outlined the loops of the flower shape, okay? And then I had a dot right here in the center. And when I took the strands, I'm gonna draw this, okay? Because I think that it will be an easier way for you to see it. I've got a piece of paper right here that I can use to draw it on. and I've got a marker that I can draw it on. And I'm going to use 2 colors. So this is how I drew the flower onto the can with the glue. I just made those loops. And sometimes it was easier for me to dot it around that loop shape, but I just made those loops until I had enough, and then I did a bunch here in the center, okay? So that's the glue that I put down. Then when I was working with the string, okay, when I was working with the strand, I started it here, and then I looped it all the way around this one, making sure with a toothpick that it was staying in the glue. And then I took and I went over to this one, and I did kind of a loop-de-loop all the way around. And then after this one, I came over here and did this one. And then I came over here and did this one. And then over here to do this one. And then over here to do this one. And I went around the loops 2 times. So once I got that first round done with the string, I did a second round and I did the same loop-de-loop thing. All the way around. And then when I got to the center, then I just spiraled the end of the string around the center. And that's how I made that flower design on the can. That's just how you do it. And as long as you've got glue all the way around each of the loops and a big dab of glue in the center, you'll be able to do that little flower design. Then if you need to, you can always put an extra little dab of glue in the center at the end to sort of hold things down. Again, use your toothpick to push everything down so that it's held in place by the glue, okay? I've had a great time today. Do you know what we're working on tomorrow? I'm gonna flip this up and turn off the extra light so that I'm not blinded. Hi. Tomorrow, we are gonna work on some egg ornaments. These are just gonna be made out of paper and string, and we're gonna use either glue or double stick tape to help us put them together. I am gonna show you 3 different types of paper to make these ornaments out of. We'll make one out of kind of a cardstock scrapbook paper. We'll make another one out of a lightweight scrapbook paper, and then we'll make a third using magazine pages. And I want to show you what the difference is between each of the 3 different types of paper as we're putting these together. And all you need is an egg shape. So if you know how to draw an egg shape, remember how we made a template for us with the heart when we were doing the shamrock yesterday? You can do the same thing and fold the sheet of paper and draw your egg shape on here and then cut it out. If you've got an egg-shaped cookie cutter, you can use that as well. But we're going to be doing a lot of shape drawing and a lot of shape cutting. If you want to draw your egg shapes on the paper that you're going to use and cut those out tonight, you can do that. Because tomorrow I'll do a little bit of cutting, but I'll have most of the cutting already done so that I can show you how to put together the ornaments, the eggs, in different designs as you're going along in the 3 different types of paper. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you for creating with me today. I had a great time decorating up our can, and I hope you did too. And I hope you'll come back tomorrow. And if you or your parents want to know more about this felting stuff that I do, you can go to my website, stabthingsintoexistence.com, and you can learn more about it there. So until tomorrow, have a good day. I'll talk to you later.